Hello everybody, my name is Mitch and today we are going over the full card fight predictions for UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Chikadze. Now here we do go over the picks first and then we'll talk about the reasons why after. Feel free to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the weekly content. Let's go ahead and get started. We have Petrovsky, Martinez, Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Sam Alvey, Dustin Jacoby, Jamal Emers, Brian Battle, Ricky Tertios, Kevin Lee, Magomedsharipov, and Edson Barboza. Those are my picks. Let's talk about the reasons why. Now here are the alleged odds for the fights. I know some of the fights are missing and I think some of the fights here are not actually scheduled to be on the card anymore, but at any rate here are the odds. Petrovsky versus Michael Gilmore. This is a pretty interesting story for those of you who have not been following the Ultimate Fighter show. Petrovsky loses in the semifinals versus Brian Battle, who we will talk about a little bit later. Michael Gilmore shows up in the middle of the season as a replacement, a late notice addition. One of the fighters didn't make it to their fight and he ends up losing to Gilbert Urbina. Now, aside from their placing in the Ultimate Fighter, I do feel like Petrovsky has a little more physical ability and seems to be more of the active fighter as well. If we look at Michael Gilmore, we can see that he hasn't fought very recently. January of 2020, it's been quite some time. While the story would be cool, him as a short notice fill-in on the show, now they've brought him back to make a UFC debut. It would be really cool if Michael Gilmore took this, but I think that Petrovsky is going to be able to land his takedowns and control the fight. I'm going with Petrovsky. Martinez versus Guido Canetti. This fight, not this fight, but Martinez versus Jesse Strader was initially supposed to fight on the Gastellum versus Cannonier card, so I did talk about Martinez briefly in my last video, and I'll post a link to that in the description. I did have a feeling that it was going to be kind of a coming out party for Martinez, and now with his recent replacements, I feel even more strong about that. We can look on Guido Canetti's side of things. He's 8-5 and most of those losses have happened in the UFC, including his UFC exhibition bouts here. We see him losing quite a bit. He gets 2 wins in like an 8-fight run. It's not looking great. Recently getting finished back-to-back fights. I think Martinez is going to be able to complete this trilogy, if you will, and get another finish. I like Martinez to end the fight within 3 rounds. Abdul Razak Al Hassan versus Antonio Braga Nito. This is another fight that I talked about on my last video, so go ahead and check that out. In short, I like Abdul Razak Al Hassan to win, mostly because if we look at the history of Antonio Braga, it's just not very good. He doesn't fight very often, and then when he does, he doesn't win very often. So having said all of that, we are going to go with Al Hassan with this one. Sam Alvey versus Wellington Turman. So styles make fights, and in this one I like Sam Alvey. I feel like he's gritty and hard to get position on. His history has not been very good, and I understand that, but neither has Wellington Turman's. Now while Turman is very young and physical and looks to pressure forward, I feel like he doesn't really find position very well. A lot of the times I feel like he's going in there, getting his pressure, but then not getting very good position. His opponents escape. I feel like Sam Alvey is going to be able to be pretty elusive here as Turman tries to pressure in, and I think Alvey will also land some hard shots to give Turman something to think about on his way in. I'm going with Sam Alvey with this one by decision. Dustin Jacoby versus Darren Stewart. I feel like these fighters' careers are kind of going in opposite trajectory, and I think it's going to continue to do so. Dustin Jacoby coming off of some wins, other than this draw against Ian Cutelaba, where he definitely loses the first round, a 10-8, but gets through the adversity and wins the next 2 rounds. I don't know about you guys, but that impresses me when a fighter gets dominated round 1 but finds the willpower to come back in the 2nd and 3rd round or the later rounds. I feel like that is impressive. On the other end, we have Darren Stewart. Darren Stewart recently just did not look very good in either of his bouts against Eric Anders. It's hard to lean towards Darren Stewart. For me, I'm going with Dustin Jacoby with this one. I think he will be able to win a pretty decisive decision. Zabatini versus Jamal Emers. I'm excited for this fight. Pat Zabatini had a very good UFC debut, wins a good decision over Tristan Canetti. Really, for this fight, for me, it's all about Jamal Emers, though. Jamal Emers, his recent loss to Giga Chikadze, who is the main event for this card. A very good fight. I do feel like it went Giga's way. It was a split decision, but I think Jamal Emers showed a lot of really good things. Crafty stand-up. I mean, Giga is a very credentialed stand-up fighter, and the fact that Jamal Emers was able to go somewhat toe-to-toe with him, I feel like is impressive. Fun fact, he also has a win over Corey Sandhagen, so I feel like that's impressive, even if it was 4 years ago. But at any rate, we are going with Jamal Emers with this one. Bryan Battle versus Gilbert Urbina, a very excited bout. If you've been watching The Ultimate Fighter, this is for the middleweight finale fight. Bryan Battle was initially going to fight Tresean Gore. I had Bryan Battle kind of winning the whole thing before the semifinals even started, so I'm going to continue picking Bryan Battle here. To me, he seems to be more of the well-rounded mixed martial artist, if you will. Gilbert Urbina has given us reason to believe that he will win if it goes to the ground. He's got some chokes in his professional career and gets a submission on the Ultimate Fighting Championship, but he also gave us reason to believe that if it stays standing up, he might have some issues. Tresean Gore gave him a lot of issues, knocked him out, I believe, in the second round. And Gilbert Urbina didn't go for a single takedown, so something Tresean did in there stopped Urbina from even trying to go for a takedown. I think Bryan Battle is going to be able to implement some of the same things, stop Urbina from completing a takedown, make him hesitant to even go for a takedown, and ultimately win the fight and the finale for the middleweights. Ricky Tertios versus Brady Highstand. Another exciting fight if you've been keeping up with the Ultimate Fighting Championship show, and another one where I'm going to side with who I consider the better mixed martial artist in there. Ricky has shown that he's got good striking, grappling, sprawling, all of those things. On the other end, we have Brady, who shows that he is a very determined grappler. He's going to try to wrestle you down, pressure you, take you down, hold you down, ultimately beat you up on the ground. I think Ricky has shown that he is crafty on the feet and should be able to scramble on the ground. I'm excited for this one, and I'm going with Ricky Tertios. Kevin Lee versus Daniel Rodriguez. I have to give Kevin Lee a pass on his losses. I'm not sure if I'm just being a fan too much, but I feel like, Charles is the belt holder right now. RDA is just a tough fight for anyone. Gets outboxed by a boxer. I mean, am I giving him too much of a pass? I'm not sure, but I do trust Kevin Lee's physique. I trust his coaching and his ability to train against a short notice Daniel Rodriguez. Now, I'm wondering if I should even consider this short notice, because this guy fights all the time, so this is almost normal for him if you look at how often he has fought recently. Now, I will add, however, that this fight against Nicholas Dalby is really the one that is convincing me that Kevin Lee can do this. Nicholas Dalby was more or less just kind of patient and smart, and I feel like Kevin Lee is going to be able to do the same thing. Kevin Lee doesn't go out there and use too much energy too fast, because I don't think he'll be able to take out Daniel Rodriguez, and if he tries to, I can see Daniel Rodriguez flourishing in the later rounds with his boxing, things like that. But I do like Kevin Lee to win 2 out of 3 rounds with this one. I'm very excited about this welterweight match. Gerald Meyerscha versus Magomedsharipov. Now, GM3 is coming off of a very good win, but ultimately I feel like he is a company man. I think that's why he signed this fight with Khamzat Chimaev, and I think that's why he has signed to fight Magomedsharipov. I mean, this dude, first of all, looks huge in there. I don't know if it's just me, but he looks like a large man in the octagon. Looks like he's got 31 professional fights, and he's only 31 years old. That's a lot of fights, in my opinion. Undefeated in the UFC, has not lost since 2016. This guy, in just his last fight, I mean, he showed flying knee attempts, takedown attempts, takedown defense, significant strikes, calf kicks. He doesn't look like he gets tired. I feel like this guy is a problem in the division, but time will tell. I'm going with Magomedsharipov. Edson Barboza versus Giga Chikadze. Edson Barboza recently having an impressive win versus Shane Burgos, a very weird knockout if you haven't seen that one. Some would say he's undefeated at 145, and I think I'm one of those people. I tend to think he beat Dan Ige, but that doesn't really matter. I think that Edson Barboza has better stand-up, more clean strikes, faster strikes, more powerful strikes. The one thing I will say about Giga is I feel like he's very sneaky and crafty. With speed, I don't think that Barboza is the only person that has a speed advantage against Giga. Giga honestly generally doesn't look that fast of a striker to me, but he is very sneaky. I feel like he's very good at landing hits, maybe baiting his opponents in and landing shots, forcing his opponents to do certain things, but I do like the way he does that. I just don't think that will be enough against Barboza. It's hard for me to see where Giga is going to try to win this fight. I'm curious if he's going to try to pressure him up against the fence, but I just feel like that's harder to do with Barboza at 145 versus 155. Assuming this is just a stand-up fight, I feel like Edson Barboza is going to take this one. I feel like it may be pretty one-sided, but perhaps I'm sleeping on Giga Chikadze a little bit. But there it is. We are going with Edson Barboza with this one. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know who you think is going to win any of these fights, any of the fights that you're excited about, or comment anything you want at all. That's it for this video. I will see you guys Saturday. Peace.